bruises that he's been dealing with. So that was just part of the entire plan. We want to be able to get Rucci a few series out and get Donkey in there for depth, for durability, for all of it. But then also, the rotation that we had with TJ and Cooper as well, just combination, trying to get more guys on the field. The same 7 guys we've been talking about.
Do you anticipate more of a rotational approach at right tackle moving forward as well?
If we're healthy, we would have liked to do that all year long. If we're healthy enough to do it. Yes, sir.
Sorry, when you talk about guys needing to play with more confidence and speed on defense and Jim's system, how much of that at this point of the season is guys being able to kind of learn things, and how much is it maybe making the system easier to learn?
It's both, right? It's both. Ultimately, it's on us to give them enough that they can go out and play winning defense. Because if it's too simplistic, that's going to be a problem as well. And it's also those guys, trusting their training and letting it fly. It's a combination of both.
James, we've talked about environments and Saturdays that could be more animosity. How do you kind of prepare for those kinds of things? From a personal standpoint, how do you get the team ready when you know that, there's been, as you've said in the past, like negative reaction from the side?
Yeah, we try to control the things that we can control. We've had this in the past. I obviously don't want it. Nobody wants it. I want the players to have a great experience. I want the coaches to have a great experience. I want the fans to feel good and be excited. And I know that we impact their mood for the week and the year. So I get it. Do I like it? Am I happy about it? No, but I get it. This is a place that's got high expectations and high standards. I get it, but again, it's outside of our control, and we try to pour all of our energy on the things that we can control.
Hey James, how do you know when it is time to make a significant personnel change? I think a lot from this side of everything, it's easy to say something of like bench whoever, start whoever, but how do you know when it is time to deviate from maybe what your plan was originally and actually make one of those changes?
Yeah, I think it depends on the history, right? If it's a newer player that doesn't have significant history and credibility built up within the locker room and with the coaching staff, then it's different. You can make a decision, pretty soon, pretty early. If it's a guy that's been around and been successful in the past, then you're a little bit more patient because you're giving everybody, the benefit of doubt. So every situation is a little bit unique and specific to the scenario based on past success, experience, those types of things.
James, to follow up on that a little bit, what to this point has held some of that linebacker depth, whether it's Cam, Tash, Keon, Specka, from having a little more contribution?
Yeah, it's kind of what we've talked about. They're less experienced guys already. We got a new defensive system. It's a little bit more complex than we've used in the past. So when you put a linebacker or a safety on the field at those positions in really any defensive scheme, but magnified in ours, and they're not able to run the defense and make the communication on a consistent basis, like Dex talks about all the time. You make a mistake at safety, it costs you 7 points. And if you're making mistakes at linebacker and can't run the defense, then it's hard to execute. No different than at the quarterback position. So those positions, it's a little bit more magnified, but obviously it's going to be important for us moving forward.
You mentioned that there were conversations before and after the game about being more involved. Obviously, we had the conversation throughout the year as well. What leads you to believe that maybe Saturday won't be different? If you guys both do that, is that kind of the plan forward in the future?
Yeah, there's been discussions that have happened with the players. There's been discussions that have happened with the coaches. Obviously, K-Tron's doing some really good things and deserves an opportunity to get more touches.
Hey James, is that RB3 spot still important? That was a big camp battle that Quentin and Corey and Cam Wallace were all involved in. What's kind of the situation there after taking K-Tron in terms of depth as well?
Yeah, I think we still have 2 running backs. Obviously, there's conversations about who should be getting more touches. But then there's a gap, to that 3rd back. And then on top of that, we've had some bumps and bruises with guys really throughout that third position, whether it's with Cam or other guys that have limited, their development, their practice reps, all those things.
When you talked about accountability this week a lot and last week as well, what does that look like in the room this week? And is that something just from the coaches or the players starting to take that on as well?
Yeah, no, it's all of us, right? It starts with me, and that's important that everybody understands that, and I understand that very, very clearly. That's hard conversations in the Lash football building with the football staff, and having discussions about things that we need to do better, things that we need to adjust, things that we need to limit. And I would also say this, to be honest with you, most are doing that on their own without me and the coordinators even having to say that, right? Everybody's doing that. And then I think the players, for the most part, the same way. They're being critical of themselves, and the coaches, when appropriate, are doing that with them too. So it's everybody, within the building. Trust me, we feel the pain. Trust me, we feel it internally, and as much as I'd like to limit the external, they feel that too. So it's all of them.
James, kind of
going off of that, is there anything, like you say, it kind of starts with you, is there anything that you've learned about yourself that's kind of helped you try to move forward through these, I guess, last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think a couple things, right? I think it all starts, first of all, with being honest. Being honest with yourself, being honest with the staff, being honest with the players, and as much as I try to do, be honest with you guys, which is hard to do sometimes. And that's the first step. I think after that, it's some of the obviously off-season changes that we've had, with staff changes and the adjustment that takes. So yeah, it's all of it, but it starts with all of us looking in the mirror and making the adjustments we can make and owning it, and then moving forward in a positive direction, and reminding the players that we're closer than maybe it feels right now, and that it's being reported, right? It's never as bad as you think, it's never as good as you think. Although it feels bad right now to everybody, I get it.
Coach, kind of following up on Audrey's question, you've said a couple times in the past about conversations during game week kind of not planning out on Saturday, related to K-Tron or anything really. Is it fair to say that you might be a little more hands-on, with play calling offensively and defensively than maybe you have in the past?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on what's being said and what's being reported. But yeah, I'm going to be hands-on every single week, as much as I have to support Jim, Andy, Stig, the rest of the coaches, the strength staff. But again, we've had a process here that's been pretty consistent at a pretty high level for a long time. So what we're also not going to do is overreact. I've hired really good coaches with really good experience and really good background. So at the end of the day, I'm going to let them do their jobs, but I'm going to be supportive and step in and have the conversations I need to have when appropriate.
Jake, you're facing a defense that doesn't, at least on the surface, make a lot of mistakes. They don't seem to make a lot of mental errors of being out of position.
Yep.
Is there almost a different game plan or a different way you have to attack that? Or is it just like you can somehow force those mistakes to happen?
Yeah, I think these guys are a lot like, I put them in a similar wheelhouse as Iowa and Northwestern. And I know this is a new regime at Northwestern, but there's still a lot of similarities with how they're playing, how they're constructed, how they're built. This staff has gone to the transfer portal more. I don't know if there's been some changes there to allow them to do that or what. But in terms of how they play, and the head coach being a defensive guy, the tree that they come from, they do a really good job. They play hard. They're usually an old team. They don't do a lot. What they do well, and they got a few wrinkles to keep you honest. and they're going to make you earn it, right? You look at them statistically; their statistics are pretty interesting. I'm not talking about necessarily in the conference, but by game, they've won a bunch of categories. Obviously, the turnovers early helped them, but we got a lot of respect for these guys on film, and they've pretty much done that each week.
James, how difficult is it to evaluate where Tyseer and Kobe are based off the lack of game reps? I know you see them every day in practice, but is there something to be said about seeing them out there in live action in the game and getting to evaluate that? I know the snaps have been very limited for them since the season opener.
Yeah, obviously we're in a position right now where we don't have plays and drives to just throw somebody out there and see how it goes. We got to get our best guys on the field. Every rep is like gold. Every drive is like gold, and we got to maximize that. And if we feel like guys give us a better chance based on what we see in practice, then yeah, we would do that. But if not, we're not in a position right now to just put guys out there to see how they do. That's what practice is for.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, Coach.